Hi, thank you for joining this training session on canvassing with MiniVAN. My name is Christy Boer. I'm the training director with the North Carolina Democratic Party. A couple of notes about computer-based training, also called CBT. This is an opportunity for you to go at your own pace. There's a point in this training where I will talk about the MiniVAN app. You can pause the presentation to follow along. And if you have any questions, I will share my contact information so that you can reach out. The agenda for this training session includes why canvassing matters, some door knocking best practices, and then information on using our canvassing tool, which is called MiniVAN. We put a tremendous emphasis on the importance of canvassing. You may have also heard it referred to as door knocking or a precinct walk. Those are all pretty interchangeable. So we talk to and connect with voters in a lot of different ways. Throughout the campaign, there will be events, media coverage, direct mail, phone calls, canvassing. Canvassing is one element of our program to reach out to voters. The reason we emphasize canvassing so much is that those face-to-face conversations are the most effective way to persuade voters and potential voters. So thank you for attending this training. Thank you for being a canvasser. And thank you for being in this fight with us for victory in 2024. There are a few things you will need when you're canvassing. First, a smartphone or tablet. Second, think about what you need to be physically comfortable while you're out in the community for a couple of hours. Depending on the weather, that might mean a fan, or it might mean gloves. You'll probably want sunscreen, your comfiest shoes, a bottle of water. When it's cold, the battery of your phone, your mobile device might run out faster, so you might want to take a supplemental charger. But depending on the season, the weather, the time of day, think about what you need to be physically comfortable. The third item is MiniVAN, and that is why you need item number one, the smartphone or tablet. I will talk more about MiniVAN in a few minutes, but a sneak peek here. This is our mobile canvassing app. It allows us to go paperless. So it used to be that after a canvas shift or a phone bank, you needed a volunteer to do a bunch of data entry to record the responses. With MiniVAN, all of that happens automatically and fairly seamlessly. So you don't have to do all that data entry anymore. That means we get information faster, more accurately, and ultimately we can reach and persuade even more voters. A few things you can expect before your canvassing shift. Whoever is hosting or organizing the canvass should give you a call to confirm your attendance a day or two before. This is an opportunity for them to help you download the MiniVAN app and also to create your action ID, which is the username and password that you need to use MiniVAN. I'm going to walk through that in this training as well, but that's another opportunity. When you show up for your canvassing shift, there will be a brief training. The canvas host will tell you who you are talking to on that day and what the script looks like. We change scripts periodically. And when it comes to who you're talking to, your canvas host might say, today we are talking to people we think are undecided voters. They vote regularly, but we're not sure if they're going to vote Democrat. Or they might say, these are strong Democratic supporters, but they vote inconsistently. So they'll give you a sense of who you're talking to that day. Your canvas host or canvas captain, your door walking organizer, whatever they're called, they will give you a list number. This list number is entered into MiniVAN and it will pull up the addresses and names of everyone we're asking you to knock that day, along with it will pull up the script. So I will show you in a little bit what that looks like. And then after that training, after getting your list number, you will head out canvassing. A quick note about health and safety. We, of course, are concerned about the health and safety of our volunteers, of our staff, of our communities. So if you are not feeling well, whether it's COVID or a cold or the flu, stay home, rest, and we will see you at another event in the future. When you are canvassing, these are a few things that you can expect to happen during your shift. You'll probably have about 30 or 40 doors to knock on. I'm recording this in April of 2024, which is still early in the campaign cycle. So it's probably about 30 doors now. When we get to September and October, when we're much closer to Election Day, it's more likely to be around 40. At that point, we have less time to talk to as many people as we want to, and hopefully we are all trained up and practiced, and we're getting a little faster and more efficient. Please go to every door that's on your list, which we call finishing your packet. The second thing is that you can expect to be canvassing for 2 hours or so. This can vary based on the number of doors that we're asking you to knock that day, based on just the coincidental nature of how many people happen to be at home and answering their doors that day. So think about whatever you need to be comfortable for 2 hours outside. The temperature, the weather, if you start your canvas at 10 a.m., it might look pretty different at 12 or 1. So maybe wear layers, but take whatever you need to be comfortable that day. And then it's important to enter the information into MiniVAN, and I'll show you how to do that, and to sync the MiniVAN data, which I will also show you how to do. And when you complete your canvas shift, your canvas captain or door knocking host should remind you to sync. Now that we've covered some information on why canvassing is so important to us and some of the basics of what you can expect, let's talk about some best practices when you're on the doors and you're talking to voters or potential voters. The first tip is in your conversation to make it personal. Voters really remember stories. Data, stats, statistics, that's actually kind of hard for people to remember in general, and the research shows that it's not as persuasive. So think about some of the reasons you are passionate about this election and connect to those voters based on your shared values and the personal stories that you can share about what you've experienced. It's important for the conversation to be a dialogue, not a monologue. You're not there to talk at the voter. You're really there to ask them what they think and what they care about and hear from them about the issues that matter to them. Of course, be respectful. If somebody is not being respectful to you, then you can wrap up that conversation and walk away. That won't happen often, but if someone says something that gets under your skin, be respectful. Just say, thank you for talking to me. Have a great day, and then move on to your next door. We do provide a script in the MiniVAN app. So please use that script, but also make it sound like you. Make it sound conversational. Once you've knocked on a few doors and talked to 2 or 3 people, I always find at that point I start to get into a rhythm and the script rolls off the tongue a little easier. So you might want to practice saying the script out loud before you knock on your first door. Couple more tips here. The quality of the conversations that you have is important. This isn't really a check the box exercise where you want to zip through all 30 doors just to get it done. It's important to have a good quality conversation. Flip side of that is that you should wrap up your conversations quick ish. Don't rush them. Don't be overly quick, but you also want to be careful that you don't end up having a conversation with one particular voter for 20 or 30 minutes. Sometimes if we run into somebody on the doors who is like-minded, it can be easy to get into a passionate political conversation and spend a little too much time there. So one of the tricks I use to get out of a conversation as politely as I can is I will look at my watch or look at my phone and say, oh my gosh, look at the time. I didn't realize how late it was. I have more doors I'm supposed to go knock, so I'd better get going. Something like that you could practice so that you can get out of some of those conversations that are maybe dragging on a little too long. 90% of communication is nonverbal. So have open body posture, not arms crossed. Don't look grumpy, smile, be friendly. Sometimes if I'm canvassing, I might not be in the mood to canvas when I first start. So I've got a playlist that I know I can listen to that will put me in the right frame of mind, get me a little excited, pumped up, and a little friendlier. Smile, wave, keep a safe distance from the door. Even before COVID, we always recommend this. So once you knock on the door, take a big step backwards or maybe 2 steps back from the door so the person who lives there doesn't feel like you're crowding them. And when you're in conversation, don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Before I ever canvassed for the first time, I was reluctant and I was nervous and I was a little intimidated because I kind of thought that people would ask me really difficult policy questions that I wouldn't know the answers to. It turns out that's not what it's like at all. It's very rare to have a conversation like that. So if something comes up and you don't know the answer, rather than guess or make something up, just say, I don't know. It can also build credibility when you're talking to people to admit that you don't know everything. And depending on the question, you might look it up on your phone on the spot with that person so that you can answer it together. The data aspects of canvassing and using the MiniVAN app are really important to us. And in our offices in Raleigh, all of this information helps us make strategic decisions around messaging, around resource allocation. So the data is very important. One point here is only to record answers for the person who is on your list. So maybe you knock on a door and my husband, Matt, answers, but you have Christy on your list. So Matt might say, oh, I know how Christy's going to vote. She's going to vote straight Democrat or she's going to vote straight Republican. That's the kind of information that we do not want you to record in the app. Please only record answers for the person whose name is listed. Fill out all of the survey questions as much as you can. So we usually ask 3 or 4 questions in a survey. When you're having a good conversation with somebody, you can see their contact information and update it. That's a good way for us to send them information so that they know what's going on with the campaign, particularly if someone's interested in potentially volunteering. And all data is good data. So even if you're talking to someone and you don't get through all 4 questions in the script that day, you only get to the first one, that is also helpful. So please record that answer in MiniVAN, and I will show you what that looks like. 2 more notes here. Approach and treat property respectfully. This is where I think about trick-or-treaters. Don't be like trick-or-treaters. Don't walk through my flower beds. Don't traipse across the lawn. Don't touch things that don't belong to you. So just be thoughtful and respectful about people's property. And also, if somebody has a no soliciting sign, you're not soliciting. You are not selling anything. So Canvas is not soliciting. Go ahead and knock on that door. I have a few do's and don'ts before I show you what the MiniVAN app looks like. Some of these are repetitive from things I've mentioned before because they are so important. So canvassing do's. Please finish your walk list. So knock on all the doors on that list. Use the script, but make it sound like you. Speak loud and clear. Enunciate. If you tend to be someone who speaks very quickly, be conscious of trying to speak a little slower. This is also that people can understand you more easily. Carry a mask. So if you can wear a mask, absolutely. I tend to carry my mask with me. So I'll have the elastic band around my waist so that I figure I'm outside, so the air quality is good. But if someone answers the door and they are wearing a mask, then I can put my mask on quickly to be respectful of their preferences and to have a conversation with them. And then finally, have fun. I think canvassing is a fantastic way to spend particularly a nice sunny weekend, morning and early afternoon. I'm also a big fan of the after work evening canvases. So canvassing can be a lot of fun, get some exercise, be out in the community. So enjoy yourself. Couple of important don'ts. The first one is don't put literature in mailboxes. This is actually a federal crime. So if you have literature, you can leave it under the doormat. You can maybe tuck it between the screen door and the front door, or it might be designed as a hanger and you can slip it on the doorknob. All of that is okay. Just don't ever put literature in a mailbox. Don't be rude. We talked about being friendly and polite. If someone gets under your skin, if you need to pause and recollect yourself, in that conversation, wrap up and give yourself a breather. Also, don't make physical contact or go into someone's home. Those are just kind of general common sense, I think, recommendations. If it's someone you don't know, you don't want to go into their house. I will usually say, thank you for the invitation, but actually I need to knock on 30 doors today, so I'm going to keep moving. Something to politely decline that request. When your canvassing shift is over, so you've knocked on every door, you entered the data into MiniVAN, make sure you sync that data and then return to the Canvas launch location. That is the same place where you started your Canvas. The Canvas host should be there to greet you. This is a good opportunity. If you have literature left over that you didn't hand out, you can give it back to that person. They can reuse it the next weekend. There's usually some kind of a debrief, so you can talk about what was the best conversation you had today. Did you get asked any questions that you didn't know the answer to that you might want to ask about? Did you hear trends on the doors? Maybe a particular issue or question popped up from several people you spoke to that day. Now, in MiniVAN, there will be a script that will tell you what to say and what to ask. You don't need to enlarge that to look at it. It's just a sample screenshot of a script we happen to be using now. But generally, you'll have a chance to establish a connection, talk a little bit about why you were so passionate, ask questions to find out if they are a Democratic voter. Do they lean Democrat? Do they lean Republican or strong Republican? We're unlikely to send you to doors of people who are strong Republicans and probably not too many lean Republicans. It's mostly going to be people that we think we have a real chance of persuading to vote for Democrats. So that's the script. It will be in MiniVAN. And now, after sharing some of those best practices, I am going to show you what MiniVAN looks like. So if you want to, here in a moment, you could pause and download MiniVAN. You would go to the App Store or Google Play. The word to search for is MiniVAN Touch. And you can see what the logo looks like here. It's this blue square with white circles in it. That's how you know that you have the right app. Once you have downloaded MiniVAN and you open the app on your phone or on your tablet device, this is what the login screen looks like. You will log in using an action ID. This is the username and password. If you have phone banked with Democrats in the past, or maybe you have canvassed in the past for a different campaign, you probably already have an action ID and you can use that. If you don't have an action ID, you can create an account. So it's a pretty standard account setup process. You put in your name, set a password, your phone number, your address. It will then send a confirmation email to your email account. You'll go check that, confirm that you did intend to create this account, and then you will have set up your action ID with its username and password. So when you log in with your action account, it may ask you if you want to enable location services. Please do enable that. The MiniVAN app uses GPS to help you navigate which houses to go to. Once you have logged in, you will get to this screen that says enter a list number. So that is as far as you can go in this practice, in this demonstration. I will show you more screenshots, but you will get that list number when you show up for your shift. So when you have shown up for your canvassing shift, you're on site, you will touch that enter a list number. This is what the screen looks like where you will enter it. It's a number with like 7 digits, a dash, and another 6 digits. The Canvas host will give you that list. You will enter it and then download your list. Auto sync should be turned on. This helps ensure that the information you enter is captured. So once you have downloaded your list, this is the household view. So you can see the top half of this screenshot from my phone is a map. The bottom half is an alphabetical list, alphabetical by street name. The circles on the map, those are indicating the doors to knock on. And the number in the circle indicates how many people are at that door. So I've drawn a red arrow on this screen where it points to household. I find the household view to be the most helpful. There is also a people view, which is what the red arrow is pointing at now. So now it is alphabetical by voter's last name. It includes the person's name, the canvas status. So if they have had their door knocked on in this canvas yet, just in case you can't remember, their age, gender, their party affiliation, some of these personal details, age, gender, they're not 100% right, but it should be 85 or 90%. Also on this screen and on the next several screens, I have put a big black box over people's personal information so that I'm not sharing that. But when you're looking at this on your phone, those black boxes won't be there. If you are canvassing in maybe a rural area or a part of the state where it's not very dense, on the bottom, there is an icon here I've highlighted that says next door. This is one of the reasons it's important to enable location services. If you click on that, the app will use GPS and tell you exactly which house is closest to where you are at that moment, so you know which door to go to next. Otherwise, if you're in a dense urban or suburban area, I am usually using this household view. So I'm at my list, which is what's circled in red, and then the household view. So I will touch one of the bubbles on the map, try to figure out which one is closest to me, and it will bring up the voter's address, So I touch that box, then touch their name, and here is the script. So the scripts do change. This happens to be a script that we are using right now that I use for this screenshot. You can see, again, I have a black box marking out this person's personal information, but that's where you will see their name, age, gender. So a lot of times when you knock on the door, most times people won't be home. So the screenshot on the left with the red arrow is pointing to the I could not reach this contact button. When you touch that button, it will bring up a menu where you can get more specific. So you will select the most appropriate response from these options. You will use not home most often. This is because no one answers the door. It's because somebody answers the door, but the person you're looking for isn't there. Or maybe the person you're looking for answers the door, but they're like, I'm cooking dinner right now. Can you come back later? All circumstances when you would just select, I couldn't reach this contact, not home. Another reminder here to only record information for the person whose name is on the script. So that will come up from time to time. Maybe you'll have a conversation with someone at the door and then go, oh, wait, are you Christopher? They're like, no, I'm Ralph. If Christopher was on your list, then don't record that data. Two more options here in the I couldn't reach this contact section are deceased and moved. So those are pretty self-explanatory, but if someone answers the door and tells you that about the person you're looking for, you can select those options. Then there's also refused and inaccessible. You will not use either of these options very, very much at all. So refused would be someone says, yes, I answered the door. I know you're with the Democratic Party. You're here to talk about the election. I don't want you to come back again. That would be refused. Inaccessible is when there's no way to get to the door. There might be a gated community, it might be an apartment building. That would not be considered inaccessible. You might not be able to reach it that day, but somebody else, somebody who lives there, might be able to knock on that door. Once something is marked inaccessible, we're not sending anyone back there. So this is used very sparingly. But if there is a house up on a mountain and it's surrounded by a moat and there are guard dogs and like we're talking really, really inaccessible, you can't get in, nobody can get in. That's when I would use inaccessible. Okay, so when a voter is home, they answer the door. You've knocked on the door, you took a big step back so that you're not crowding them, then you will use the script in the app. Couple of points here. So this, I've sectioned out parts of this script. This is pretty common. So you'll ask for the person whose name is on the list. You will introduce yourself. On this case, it would be something like, hi, I'm Christy. I'm a volunteer with the North Carolina Democratic Party. And I'm really worried that radical Republicans are trying to move us backwards in this country. So I'm volunteering to help keep that from happening, something like that. So that was me introducing myself and sharing a little bit of a personal story. So then there are survey questions. On this script, the question is, do you support Democrats for the 2024 election? So there are options here: strong Dem, lean Dem, undecided, lean Republican, strong Republican, other, and no voting. Those happen to be the options here. So you will use your best judgment based on your conversation with this person and touch the box for their response. And that is how all of the survey questions work. You just touch the box when they answer the question. On occasion, there might be somebody that you talk to that isn't on your list, but you've had a good conversation. There is here highlighted in red, there is an icon. It's kind of like a person with a plus sign next to it. You can touch that and it will open up a menu where you could look somebody up or you can add their information. And that's how MiniVAN works. So as a reminder, once you have canvassed, you've knocked on every door on your list, you've entered all that information in MiniVAN as you went along, sync your data. There is in the upper right-hand corner a little cloud icon. It's a kind of common sync icon you might have seen in other apps as well. You just touch that cloud and it will make sure it's synced. And then go back to the Canvas launch location to end your shift. This is where you might return literature, have a debrief conversation. Also, it lets the Canvas host know that you're safe and that hopefully they'll see you again the next time. So a couple of notes about how to take action. I wanted to mention Project 100. So this is our plan to make sure that we are organizing and talking to voters in all 100 counties across the state. So we can do this. We need your help. We need as many volunteers as we can so we can talk to as many people as we can. But this is our year-round organizing program to make sure we're talking to the right people at the right time with the right message. If you have ever volunteered with a campaign before, you might have seen a fall canvas. The last Saturday before Election Day, there are huge canvases all over the state, and those don't happen overnight. So all of the work that we are doing all year long helps us build to those huge fall canvases. So thank you for being here, and appreciate your participating in our Canvas program. And I hope to see you on the door soon. Thanks.